towards the end of last season, Sampdoria came here to San Siro and beat Inter 2-0, a victory which was crucial to the winning of the championship. Now both sides are striving to reimpose themselves in the Italian First Division. Inter have won only 3 of their last 15 league games. Sampdoria haven't really played like defending champions since late September, when Inter were the victims of this inspired display. And it's Mancini. Lombardo in behind Inter. Lombardo again. And still Lombardo! No offside. And is it going to be number 3 for Vialli? The goal is open. And Inter have been caught out again. Silas, options right and left, it's Lombardo! A fantastic finale. Just one place and 1 point between the sides now. Sampdoria still pursuing the European Cup, but for both teams, very important to finish as high as possible to make sure that they qualify for Europe next season. Well, there's no Andy Bremer for Inter today. His shirt passing to Angelo Orlando, only his second start since his signing in the summer from Udinese. Nicola Berti is also injured, and most unusually, Jurgen Klinsmann wears the number 7 today. One can only assume that the club are trying to help Davide Fontolan improve his fortunes in front of goal by switching to his favourite number 9. Lothar Matthäus missed a penalty in midweek when Inter lost to Juventus 1-0 in the first leg of the quarter-final of the Italian Cup. On the same night, Sampdoria beat Roma, also 1-0 in Genoa at the same stage of the same competition. Gianluca Pagliuca, their goalkeeper, was injured in that game, but he has responded to treatment. And so too has that key defender, Pietro Viercabod. Sreko Katanets is missing, though. He's suspended, but the most notable absentee, Roberto Mancini, who is named as a substitute but very unlikely to take part in the game. Renato Busso, his replacement against Roma, stays in at number 10. The referee, Alfredo Trentalanger, gets the game underway. You do feel that it is more important for Inter to get a victory today than perhaps for Sampdoria, who have put their game together a little more regularly recently. They are 9 matches unbeaten without ever really looking like the side they were last season. But Inter's shortfall is quite alarming for their supporters. And with Fontolan and Klinsmann between them, trying to cause some havoc here. The players trying to respond to their time of need. Luis Suarez has tried to keep the problems out of the public eye. Matthäus takes the corner. And that came off the balding head of Lombardo, back to Matthäus again. Matthäus himself has been speaking out a little more than the coach, mostly about the shortcomings of his teammates, although what they thought when Matthäus missed that midweek penalty has remained a fairly private matter, but I think it wouldn't be too hard to guess. Lana knocking the ball back to Pagliuca, whose performance here towards the end of last season remains one of the outstanding goalkeeping shows that I think any of us who saw that game can ever remember. He also prevented Matthäus scoring from the penalty spot, and I think his famous quote was, "If they'd fired the ball from a cannon, I'd have still caught it the way I was playing." Orlando losing out. Now, Busso coming into the centre, and how Busso and Vialli will combine, we must wait to see. Ivano Bonetti, the younger of the two brothers. Dario is one of the Sampdoria substitutes today. Mateus. Battistini coming forward. Klinsmann very eager to involve teammates coming from a deeper position, including Desideri. But Pari can play it away. And Vialli with Mannini. Rather surprisingly right up with him. Vialli, who scored the winning goal against Roma in midweek. Remember, in both those cup quarter-finals, there are second legs to come. Here's Bonetti, naturally left-sided. Cerezo, who will be 37 in April, but shows a little sign of decline. Lombardo. There's Invernizzi supporting him. And Vialli trying to draw Inter in clusters towards him. Lombardo helped it on a little too strongly for Sampdoria. And Busso's turn was matched by Bianchi. Mateus, when he plays well, there is an extra air of authority about Inter, but it hasn't been in evidence too often this season. You think back to their early exit from European competition, but it's been a bold start here. The shot from Dino Baggio was not too far away. Ferri, who's been having problems with referees, he's been sent off twice in his last 4 league games. Baggio has taken it on. Well, neither Klinsmann nor Desideri were able to get free for the cross, but there was another piece of evidence where Inter are trying to satisfy demanding supporters who have been in increasing numbers showing their displeasure about the way this season has gone. It started with great hopes. They were, after all, third last season. Free kick to Inter, which Desideri will take to Mateus. Klinsmann. Well, Sampdoria at the moment being forced to defend, but they're not challenged greatly in that particular attack. Bergami taking the throw quickly to try and keep the impetus going. Down goes Bianchi, claiming a free kick against Bonetti. He's been part of this number change. Usually he wears 7, but today it's 8. Maybe they're more superstitious here than one would think. Mateus stays at number 10. Oh, and Bergami got to it. It was Fontalan who knocked it back towards the centre after that. Cerezo steers it away. And Invernizzi finds a route for a back pass that just takes the heat out of the situation for Sampdoria. The the European Cup to resume early next month. Sampdoria still very much in the frame for that. But they badly needed to improve their domestic showing after they crushed Inter in September. There was one more big win at the expense of Ascoli, and then a terrible run of 8 games without a win, in which the future of Boskov, the coach, was questioned so soon, really, after being heralded as a genius when they won the championship. And it's been made quite clear that Boskov won't be in charge of Sampdoria next season. That will be the responsibility of the Swedish coach, Svennis Eriksson. Here's Busso. That was pretty well hit. Didn't get far enough for Sampdoria. Cerezo stopped from a second involvement as they scrap for possession on the edge of the area. Orlando getting support from behind from Battistini. Fontelan has a second chance here. He can't make anything of that. Here's Baggio. Klinsmann, who has to do so much of his work in that congested area where defenders swarm around him, and it's a tribute to his optimistic nature, but he still does it with plenty of optimism when others would perhaps in these circumstances find themselves crowded out quite readily. Cerezo, and now Lombardo here. It's a tight angle. Busso was in the middle. Lombardo with memories this week. They've been showing his goals against Inter on Italian television, and he wanted another one here, but the odds were against him. Zenga untroubled. Busso. Now Bianchi gives into the shape on the right-hand side. Determined play by Fontelan after that. Bianchi again. Here's Mateus. Now Baggio, who has really been given Bremer's job with Orlando playing further forward. Battistini deflected, and one of those that can embarrass a goalkeeper if he started to come off his line. But Pagliuca found the ball dropping very comfortably. Inter with their sweeper system being tested here, but not seriously tested by Invernizzi. And Battistini, who is the sweeper, given plenty of freedom to come out and play in the opposition's half. Inter regularly getting this far, but no further. Bergami, headed on by Klinsmann, but there was no one reacting. Oh, but Sampdoria giving the ball away through Manini, and Klinsmann still could cash in. But there's a little cameo there of the season of both clubs. Sampdoria, who was so secure defensively last season, have irritated Boskov almost beyond his patience. And Inter, when they have had chances, have looked like a team that don't expect them to materialise. A bit more positive thinking then, and the mistake by Manini would have been well and truly punished. As it is, it's still 0-0. Pagliuca in trouble now, though. Well, he came to take charge, and he didn't do that. But in the end, at no cost to Sampdoria, who now have a free kick for a spot of dangerous play by Matthäus. Lombardo. Cerezo from optimistic range, but Inter looking reasonably solid defensively. But of course it was in the second half, at the end of the ground, that Sampdoria will be attacking after half-time, that the Inter were pulled apart on the counter-attack in that championship deciding fixture. But at the moment, Boskov is concerned as to how his team are dealing with their task in the context of this season. Some clever play by Vierkebod. He's never shy when asked to go forward. But like much of the work in this first half, it reaches the area close to the penalty box, but no further. Baggio. Matthäus picked up by Desideri. Oh, and Klinsmann claiming that the header went over the bar off an opponent. And we'll see really what sort of case he has here. And that looked to me as though it should be a goal kick. That's what it is. But Luis Suarez getting increasingly agitated at Inter's failure to make a greater share of the ball count in front of goal. Klinsmann, Fontelan, and the referee right on the spot. Fontelan, well, looking towards the crowd, and as he turns to the referee, he might be in trouble for trying to deceive the referee. In fact, if Klinsmann hadn't got involved, then I wonder whether Fontelan, coming still onto the ball and facing the goal, might have been able to get a shot in the first place. We shall never know. Vialli. And most of Sampdoria's attempts, and that one came from Ibanizzi, have been restricted to some distance. The one try from Lombardo, which was really a selfish attempt with a player in the centre. But for the most part, the story of this first half, and we're into stoppage time now, has been of Inter trying to get a firm grip on the game, and certainly working hard enough to achieve that, but being kept at bay by some rather brusque at times Sampdoria defending, and some organised work at the back too. Boskov, though, of the two coaches, will be the one more pleased to hear the half-time whistle. So the last chance in the first half, one suspects, for Inter to get their noses in front. Sampdoria making something of a meal of getting the ball out of play. Ferry had been sent forward by Inter on the far side. Here's Baggio. And it is a corner. Is there going to be time for it to be taken? That's in the hand of this relatively young official. Just 34. We've had 4 minutes now. Time at the referee's discretion. Sampdoria, rather sad to say, haven't come here with a huge amount of ambition. They've been content to let Inter take the game to them and soak up the expected pressure from the home side. Inter have made better use of the final ball without creating an absolute clear-cut opportunity. It really has been the story of their season so far. They've averaged less than a goal a game. And at half-time here, it's Inter 0, Sampdoria 0. Sampdoria about to start the second half. A number of the players on view today will be hoping to impress with their inclusion in Italy's squad to play a friendly international against San Marino in 3 days' time. And that doesn't, of course, apply to Jürgen Klinsmann, whose international services are required elsewhere, but very nearly, as he came in then, giving the second half a spectacular start. Baggio. Orlando. He's got plenty to play for. Contolan, who has found it very hard this season, his first year back after missing an entire campaign with a very badly damaged knee. And with that in mind, his recovery requires a patient approach from those who pick the team, and indeed from those of us who have to sit up in judgment. But he's not looked the player that he was when he was scoring goals for Genoa and earned his move here to Milan. Lombardo, now Busso. Orlando will get there. Played back by Bianchi, who has been called up by Arrigo Sacchi to get a game against San Marino. So has Mannini and Pagliuca from the Sampdoria defence. Oh, Klinsmann, that defence under threat now, and the goalkeeper not called upon to make a save because, well, Vierkabod, who is such a strong opponent and a clever one too, was just battling and kicking and striving to prevent Klinsmann settling. And he does it in such a way, Vierkabod, that you can't really say at any point that should have been penalised with a penalty to Inter. But it was a fairly abrasive piece of defending. Klinsmann was complaining about it. Or will it be Pagliuca to play against San Marino? On either count, one would not expect Italy's goalkeeper to have too much to do. Massimo Ciocci is being summoned from amongst the substitutes by Inter. He's certainly a goal scorer of some pedigree in the past, but he's been in and out of the side here at Inter and hasn't been able to put his game together on any regular basis. Very few of the attackers have. Klinsmann the top scorer with only 4 so far. But here's Baggio looking for a goal. And one suspects that his namesake with Juventus might have fashioned a better attempt in that sort of position, but it was certainly worthy of praise for accepting the responsibility of shooting. It's Fontelan. Well, the number 9 hasn't worked any miracles for him, and it's the number 16 we see now on the back of Massimo Ciocci with just under an hour gone. Orlando well above Cerezo. Here's Bianchi. by a somewhat perplexed Orlando. Well, they are trying to get players from varying quarters into the penalty area to arrive at the right time. But the crossing ability from the left-hand side of Andy Bremer bound to be missed. At least the ball is coming in from the right. Helped on by Busso. Vialli scrapping for it. And now claiming a corner. And getting it. Cerezo, in fact. Well, Vierkova got there and Busso was in there as well. But Sampdoria could have waited for further reinforcements. And now they're relying on Pagliuca, who couldn't bring Ciocci down. Still Ciocci, the referee blows now. But that shows just how much the game has changed because of FIFA taking a hand and changing the rule book in these circumstances. In the past, Pagliuca might have been prepared to come out and foul outside the area. If he'd done that, a red card would have been inevitable. Although, as it turned out, it wasn't exactly a goal-scoring opportunity for Ciocci. The final outcome, this free kick. And with Mateus on the ball, there's plenty of menace here for Inter. And it comes for Desideri. It's another corner, is it? Desideri still covered in disappointment. His eye for an opportunity was always apparent in his time with Roma. Yes, it was off Manini and behind. So Mateus tries again. Netti guarding a post. Oh, and Bianchi could have done with a better first touch then. It's another corner. It's sustained pressure here from Inter. And Sampdoria, in this sponge-like way, is soaking it up. And maybe now, as they love to do, they can hit on the break. Look at Vialli going in support of Invernizzi. And he gets the ball too. Battistini, the defender closest to him. Still Vialli. Oh, and Invernizzi, who had run more than half the length of the pitch, and has hit the shot, but Bonetti, and it's just pushed aside by Zenga, who hasn't had a great deal to do in truth. It was a testing ball, though, from Ivano Bonetti, as he was found by Busso's thoughtful pass. Lombardo coming in if Zenga's knocked that back out. Instead, it's a corner. And off the line from Busso's magnificent volley. Vialli. A show of strength from Sampdoria here. Well, they've rationed their work in attack, but they very nearly took the lead. Now they're going to substitute one Brazilian for another, but let's have another look at Busso, and it was Busso. You thought straight away it must be Vialli, it was so acrobatic. On comes Silas. The aging legs of Toninho Cerezo have done the last running for this game. And Silas setting off straight away to try and continue the mood of the match as he found it when he came on, which after sustained attacking by Inter, it's suddenly switched Sampdoria's way. Klinsmann still chasing. Marco Grossi is about to come on for Inter as their second substitute, hoping he comes on still at 0-0 as Vierkovod tried to take them on. Klinsmann with Manini, whose inclusion has made some headlines here. Inclusion in the Arrigo Sacchi international squad has made some headlines here in Italy. And at the free kick that Manini has conceded, 19-year-old Marco Grossi, who has played in the Italian Cup, but now comes on in the first division in place of Alessandro Bianchi. Grossi is a defender, so I don't quite know what that means, as with plenty of teammates ahead of him. Riccardo Ferri looked for something very spectacular indeed. Well, it hasn't in truth been the match that it was here last season between the two sides. Always a high-profile fixture, but that was mountainous in its profile. Busso. Of course, the two sides, as we've stressed here today, not what they were last season for a whole variety of reasons, but very much needing to try and make their mark over the remainder of this game. The extra impetus of the second point, a victory which, no matter how it's achieved, is so highly valued. Sampdoria have been caught up in a spell of draws recently. They've got 1 point from each of their last 3 games, and maybe another share of the spoils here. But not if Vialli has his way. Did well to get a shot in. Manini right into the back of Klinsmann, but Inter have kept the ball, and the referee wisely playing an advantage. Klinsmann wasn't aware of that straight away. Baggio. This is Matthäus. Klinsmann. Well, it was an admirable effort, both from the team and the player who had the final shot. Persistence is of paramount importance in a contest as tight as this one, and Inter are showing that. Lombardo pulling to this near side, Invernizzi on the ball. And that off young Grossi is a corner. Zenga just venturing out to his 6-yard line as if to check the terrain in case he has to make a move in that direction. Bergami has the job of picking up Busso. Silas to take the corner. Bergami did well. Vialli hit the volley that didn't get very far. To trying to force Sampdoria back. Vialli again, but it's wrong-footed Lombardo. Here's Invernizzi. And Inter beginning to look a little edgy, as if, well, they might just be caught in the closing stages. They are unbeaten at home in the league, but they've drawn 6 of their 9 games here. 7 out of 10, even with 3 wins. It really isn't quite what was hoped for at the outset. And that isn't even guaranteed yet. Well, both Boskov and Suarez have been making the point this week that last year it was for the championship, today it's for basically European qualification, and there is a lot of competition in the upper half of the league table with Napoli and Parma and Torino pressing. Klinsmann though doing some pressing of his own here. Surely someone will get a shot in the end, and it's Ciocci, and it's not a very good one. Well, Mateus claiming that it could have come for him. He can see where he was, but I don't think Ciocci had many other options, really. He was entitled to shoot. Are we going to get a dramatic conclusion here? Inter hope so, because they have the corner. Last victory on this ground in the league came in stoppage time against Cremonese. Prepared to gamble here and get Ferry forward. Battistini, who's good in the air, is right in there as well, and he jumped in that posse. Ferry having to come back and reclaim possession. Grossi driving it in, back-headed by Klinsmann. Sampdoria trying to stand firm, not easy for them. One or two nerves showing as well. Ferry to take the throw. Some of the spectators have started to make their way towards the exits, but they might miss the main moment here. But Grossi overhits, and Pagliuca will take as long as he's allowed to do. Lombardo being advised by one or two of his teammates to just get the ball forward, but he's done a bit more than that. Headed on by Silas to Vialli. Busso's in there as well. Vialli. Well, the difficulties never beyond him. He's damaged himself in that individual assault on the Inter goal. And because Vialli is still down, Lombardo rolls the ball out of play. He was still trying to win it. And Sampdoria have been more positive in the second half, as if perhaps they felt that in the first half they coped well enough with what they suspected to be the best that Inter had to offer. But Inter now, this is their 21st game of the season. They've scored a mere 18 goals. Been beaten away at Verona last week. They desperately wanted to bounce back with a good win here, and certainly against prestigious opposition. Well, it could still happen because Bergami is there, and it is a corner. That really was a terrific show of initiative from the captain, who suddenly appeared on the scene and took the shot first time and forced a save from Pagliuca. So it's not over yet. Vierkovo. Baggio trying to head it back in again. That is, though, the final whistle. It's another home draw for Inter, and you can hear what the crowd basically think of a performance which has had as much to do, I think, with lack of confidence as anything else. Sampdoria were able to show more of their skill on the counter-attack in the second half, and particularly with Busso's volley, which was kicked off the line, came close to getting the extra point. But the final score is Inter 0, Sampdoria 0.
Given that Fiorentina had drawn in Milan in September, the return game in Florence threw up the possibility of the leaders losing for the first time. Certainly, Fiorentina dictated the tempo of the game here, an imaginative move ending with Iachini's flying header. Roberto Donadoni has been unhappy recently, but he came back into the side and looked to prove a point. Milan, though, had to manage without Marco van Basten, victim of a tummy bug. But they did put the shackles on Fiorentina's Gabriel Batistuta, who'd scored 6 times in his previous 3 games. Capello not thrilled with Milan's performance, but they are still undefeated, 21 games into the season. After surviving at San Siro last week, Juventus gave a much more carefree display at home to Atalanta. Paolo Di Canio in from the start in the absence of Casiraghi, his shot here. Juventus playing progressively. Stefan Reuter's attempt ricocheting to Roberto Baggio, another close thing. Then it was Di Canio again, delivering a dangerous little cross which was steered back by Schillaci, and Verona doing very well to knock the ball away. But the pressure paid off after 34 minutes, with Baggio probing away, and Schillaci, who's been missing this type of chance since the World Cup, brought back memories of Italia 90. Juventus then had a less satisfactory spell either side of half-time. First, Perrone brought an agile save out of Stefano Tacconi, and then the Atalanta substitute, Piovanelli, with great persistence and possibly handball, conjured up an equaliser. The teams were level, though, for only 2 minutes before Baggio reasserted himself and regained the lead for Juventus with the latest from his catalogue of high-class goals. 2-1 to Juventus. Atalanta not giving up the fight. From Glenn Stromberg's superb pass, Bianchesi squandered a great chance to equalise a second time. But then in the closing moments, Carrera broke out of defence, Ferron roaring out of his goal. But the ball passed fractionally wide of an open net, an entertaining game and an important win for Trapattoni's team. Napoli, still third in the table, were beaten by Parma last week. Torino starting the day 2 places behind them. Napoli making the running here. This is Crippa. And then Careca making room cleverly for his cross. Andrea Silenzi helping the ball on, just too far ahead of Alamao. Into the second half, and Laurent Blanc warming up for his midweek visit to Wembley with France, the Napoli sweeper with a quick free kick. Silenzi meeting Alamao's centre with a splendid header, but still 0-0. Then Torino started to flex their muscles. Martin Vasquez finishing in the end tamely after being sent clear. Bresciani was the next to catch out Napoli, and the danger growing with every Torino attack. And a goal did materialise, struck home forcefully by Luca Fusi, a member of Napoli's championship-winning side of 2 years ago. A sweet moment for him. And it was turning into a nightmare for Napoli now. Lentini hauled down by Francini, the red card a formality. Massimo Crippa didn't give up the struggle, which was unequal from then on. But Napoli, so consistent for much of the season, are going through a bad spell now, and Torino are just a point behind them. Parma also pressing to take over third spot, their latest victory at Cremona, where Cremonese were left cursing their misfortune and misjudgment. After Piccioni had put his volley wide, look at this for an own goal. Ozio's corner flicked on, and going in off Gustavo Dezzotti, Cremonese's leading scorer, looking for someone else to blame after it. His embarrassment would have been lessened if Gualco had taken this opportunity to equalise. But Parma stayed strong defensively in the second half, and Di Chiara's determination almost doubled their lead. A day that really summed up Cremonese's unhappy season. Ascoli's visit to the Olympic Stadium produced one of the day's talking points. From a header by Gregucci, Menolashina handling on the line, the ball eventually going in, but a penalty, not a goal given, which meant that the defender under the current law had to be sent off, and Solda added to the drama by driving the penalty too high. Lazio gave a first appearance to Capocchiano, a striker, but it wasn't to be his day in front of goal. But it was for Laurieri, who was in terrific form. An effort from Sclosa turned aside, and Giovanni Stroppa giving him his greatest problems. After Stroppa's first timer flew too high, a perfect free kick to send Lazio into the lead on the hour. And inspired by Stroppa, they should have put the game out of Ascoli's reach at this stage. But Laurieri had other ideas. No way past him from Neri, and then he stopped another shot from Sergio. Lazio lacking both Riedler and Ruben Sosa. Perhaps Laurieri's best save coming up, robbing Stroppa of his second. And eventually Ascoli rewarded their goalkeeper by sneaking an equaliser with just a minute left. Benetti, a defender pushed forward in desperation, took the opportunity expertly. Ascoli's second away point of the season and achieved with 10 men. Genoa had conceded 6 goals in their 2 previous home games, and they could have gone behind early to Roma if Bonacina had hit the target. But then came a goal right out of the Genoa textbook. Signorini's long ball to the dangerous head of Thomas Scuravi. Carlos Aguilera anticipating the flick on, and that's 10 for the Uruguayan this season. Roma did improve in the second half. Andrea Carnevali causing Genoa problems here from Thomas Hessler's corner. More confusion, and Rudi Foller voraciously feeding on the ricochet. His effort blocked by Braglia. All Roma now, with Genoa trying with increasing difficulty to defend their 1-goal lead. De Marchi with a dangerous header. Genoa's next scare came from Bonacina. Time ticking away. But goalkeeper Braglia perhaps had one eye on the clock and only one eye on the ball as he allowed Hessler's speculative effort to go in virtually over his head. It was a costly mistake, but Roma really deserved a point. Cagliari look a much better side when Daniel Fonseca is fit, the Uruguayan striker back after missing 5 matches and soon troubling the Foggia goalkeeper Mancini. But Foggia, as you'd expect, pushing forward through Baiano. And Baiano was involved in the move that led to them taking the lead. Igor Shalimov scoring for the 7th time this season. 1-0 to Foggia. But typical again of Foggia, defence deserted them 2 minutes later. Fonseca able to steer his volley beyond Mancini. Into the second half, the same sort of ebb and flow. Rambaudi's pass deserved a better end product from Baiano. But no mistake from Fonseca here at the far post. Cagliari 2-1 ahead, 7 minutes after half-time. But then they committed defensive suicide. Just look at 2 defenders here, Villa and Nardini, getting in each other's way. Rambaudi does the rest, 2-2. That's the way it stayed, though this free kick had Fonseca eyeing a hat-trick. And even after that, Rambaudi rolled the ball towards the Cagliari goal where Napoli was waiting to clear. Cagliari 2, Foggia 2. Finally to Bari, for whom victory was of prime importance against Verona. David Platt out injured, but he would have been proud of this Platt-style goal by Terracenere, which gave Bari a 3rd-minute lead. Verona signed the Romanian Radu Cioiu from Bari, but he wasted this chance to make a mark against his old club. That miss made worse when Boban galloped away here. Pin in trying to tackle, touched the shot. In Italy, they call that an own goal. Michele Serena pulled it back to 2-1, 14 minutes into the second half. Verona supported now by substitute Davide Pellegrini. Bari in dire straits at this stage. But they survived. Fortunato was close to making it 3-1 near the end. The margin didn't matter, though. The win was paramount, and Bari got it. So Bari are now just 1 point behind Cagliari and 3 away from their eventual target, Verona. 3 wins this year have given them a genuine chance of avoiding relegation. Less hope for Cremonese or Ascoli. Atalanta back in the bottom half after losing in Turin. It's getting tighter than ever behind the top 2, with Parma and Torino breathing down the necks of Napoli. And another pack of clubs with ambitions of earning European qualifications for next season behind them. The day's main statistic, though, the gap between Milan and Juventus reduced to 4 points, with 13 games still left. Scoring goals has been a major problem for Juventus compared to Milan, so the sight of Toto Schillaci, as the world saw him in 1990, will have brought real joy to the Juventus camp. And then, with Schillaci's help, Roberto Baggio gave another reminder that while he's around, it would be foolish to totally rule out the team of Giovanni Trapattoni.